I'll do the intro. I know what I'm gonna say.
All right. This is the part where you say, and we're live.
Oh wait, we're live. Oh,
Wait,
and
I
Yeah.
we're
thought.
live.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to say it.
Yeah, I
No,
thought
she
you
said
said
I
too.
was going to, I know what to say. So I
Oh,
deferred
I
to
thought you
her
meant
and
after
Oh,
then,
you said
and
you.
then
yeah.
she
Oh,
blew
okay.
it. I mean,
Okay.
It is Wednesday, October 6th, 2021, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm just going to say for a second that we're here to play Where's the Lie? The game in which we really call on the egos of our guests to deny themselves the pleasure of telling their cool stories of the famous people they have met and the weird ass things they have done, and to instead just be a total sociopath and lie to
it's really a choice between being a windbag, you know, narcissist or being a sociopath.
So
Yeah.
it's a win-win, lose-lose for you here, Ben. like it is. We're not allowed to have fun anymore, but we are allowed to play Where's the Lie with Ben Wittes. Hi, Ben Wittes. Welcome to the
Hello.
show.
Thank you. Do you, should we tell why we're playing Where's the Lie with me today?
Because we didn't actually even text each other until after 4 p.m.
Yeah, it was like
today.
4 o'clock, 3:30 or so. We were like, "Hey, do we have a show today?"
I was
And
like kept hoping that someone was going to just plan it.
so
like
I texted Tim Miller, and he was on a plane. And Sarah Longwell sent me back a one-line note: "Can't do today, sorry." And I emailed Paul Rosenzweig to see if he wanted to come on and talk about cybersecurity monoculture, but about which he just wrote on Lawfare, and he does. But he didn't get back to me until after I had pulled the panic button and just announced that I would do Where's the
Yeah,
Lie. And so this is
but
like the fourth
it
choice option here.
but can I just ask you something about, because I God, I haven't looked at the bylaws of the show lately, but it was my it was not my understanding that this was like irrevocable, like when
yeah,
she
I
tweeted.
agree.
Wait, that what was irrevocable?
Like the announcement about the show. I mean, like the show. Like I don't understand. Like I believe I was the one that texted around 4 o'clock, say, "Hey, do we have a show today?" And then so like a show where like you can like forget to do anything like right before the show, and then all of a sudden you're going to stand on principle because you sent out that one tweet and you can't change your mind
No,
about it. That
once
just
I've
seems
announced that I'm playing Where's the Lie, I cannot make a liar out of myself in that claim. No one will
it's in
believe
the
anything I
bylaws.
say
Scott.
again.
Yeah,
okay. I
it's
mean,
Besides,
the
there's
thing.
besides, just so the background here is that at around 4:45, Kate texts us that's like Jack Balkan is in for today, and I was like, no, 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 we can't do that. I've already announced the show, but
he'll
by
come on
doing
tomorrow,
that,
folks. He's going to be
he's
great.
coming tomorrow. So we've actually solved two show problems with one rudeness here. Um, so today we're going to play Where's the Lie with me. Tomorrow we're going to have Jack Balkan about whatever Jack Balkan wants to talk
Social
about.
media and the whistleblower and Facebook files. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Because
That's going to
I'm
be tomorrow.
interviewing the whistleblower after I have to leave the show early. Jack will stay, but I'm the Yale ISP. I'll make a quick hit, Ben. Sorry to do this. I forgot that I should mention on the show,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
tomorrow, from 6 until 9, there are two 90-minute panels that the Yale Information Society, Yale Law School Information Society project is hosting. I am hosting the first panel. It will be with Frances Hogan, who is the whistleblower of the Facebook files, and recently testified in Congress yesterday. She will be on a panel with Shoshana Zuboff of the Harvard Business School, Tristan Harris, formerly of Facebook and now of Center for Humane Technology, and Mitali Jain of Reset Tech. And that'll be in from 6 to 7:30, and then we will switch over to a panel that will be the activist panel, and then we're switching over to a panel, be the academic panel, which will be an equally kind of incredible lineup. It'll be Jack Balkin. He'll pop over from in lieu of fun to join that panel. Zephyr Teach Out of Fordham and Break Them Up, her book about antitrust. David Kay, former solicitor, or former speech rapporteur for the UN, and UCI clinical professor at UCI Law School, and Nate Persley, a regular on the show of Stanford Law School. And so, so that'll be kind of all talking about social media and the what's going to happen in the fallout of the Facebook files and what's next. And so that'll be, if you're interested, directly following In Lieu of Fun tomorrow.
Fantastic! That is just an absolutely stellar, crazy stellar 2 panels. Congratulations for being.
So share with the audience the.
I should share the thing
where they can sign up for the.
So one of the people, Shoshana Zuboff, that it was going to be on the first panel. She was the one. She did coin, did she not? The term surveillance capitalism.
She did. Coin surveillance capitalism. I don't have the book in front of me because it's at my office, but it is. She wrote a very large book called.
Very heavy book, yes.
Very heavy book called Surveillance Capitalism.
The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, I believe was the term, right?
Thank you. Yes, it is. That is the full name of it, and it is. I think there's actually a colon, but yeah, and but it's a wonderful. It's a wonderful book about kind of basically this idea of how we've kind of built something on targeted, built these platforms in targeted advertising, and its scale, and with the kind of the technology we have now, how it is different from past moments of targeted advertising and things like that. So she will be great. I mean, it's just all around kind of. I think that Zephyr has now announced that she's running for AG in New York. So there's a lot of. Nate Persley is in the middle of doing the redistricting for Pennsylvania. There are just it's a very plugged in group of people.
And the whistleblower. Let's not forget that that's anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be fun tomorrow. Yeah, I'm really excited. But anyways, Ben, tell us your lie story.
My lie story? Well, don't give it away. I do want to point out, first of all, that a majority, 52%, before the story think I'm telling the truth. So we'll see if that number goes up or down. And I'm going to be watching it in real time, and so can calibrate the story as need be to appeal to. It's like a fucking focus group here.
Wow.
So this is the story of the one time in my life I have actually had to use my martial arts skills. And it involves a broad daylight encounter in the middle of the night with 2, not 1, but 2 skinheads in Stockholm. And it was about 11 o'clock at night. And I was standing on a street corner above a metro station. And for those of you who are going to ask, no, I don't remember what metro station it was. I'm going to be candid about what I don't remember about this incident. It was broad daylight because it was June. And in June, there's about 2 hours of night in Stockholm, 3 hours, 4 hours or something. And it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I am standing on the corner above this metro station that I had just walked out of, waiting for my friend Eva Carlson. And Eva Carlson was a kind of aspiring actress.
Name checks out. Sounds Scandinavian.
Sounds Scandinavian, yeah. And there are many Eva Carlsons in Stockholm. And I had met Eva a few years earlier when I was probably 18 or 19. My friend, whose name is also Ben, and I had been training around Europe, and we found ourselves one night sleeping in the baggage car of a train from uh, somewhere in Scandinavia, actually on the way to Copenhagen, not to Stockholm. But
Wait, you were like a stowaway?
no, it was we were on a we had Eurail passes, but there were no seats, and so we just took our sleeping bags and went and slept in the baggage car, which was fine. Like the conductors didn't care. And I woke up the next morning, and Ben woke up, and there was a whole crowd of people sleeping in the baggage car. And one of them was this woman, Eva Karlsson, who was an actress or aspiring actress in Stockholm. And we struck up a conversation, and she invited us to hang with her when we came to Stockholm, which we did. And she and I traded letters a number of times over the succeeding years until I found myself back in Stockholm in the summer of, let's see, what year was it? 1991. And Ava was and she invited me to crash at her apartment, which I did. I was riding a bicycle through Europe at the time. And she was performing in a quite improbable, and this is for the detail here is for the benefit of Richard Wattenbarger, a quite improbable production of Karamina Burana, which is a horrible oratorio written by Karl Orff, most famous for the opening chorus, "Oh Fortuna, blah 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 blah, da na 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 na." But they had set it as a kind of an opera, which is really silly because it doesn't work as an oratorio, let alone as an opera. But they were all kind of dressed as clowns and singing this, and it was kind of affecting in its own way. And I had gone to see it a few nights ago, but this was the last night, and they were having their cast party. And I was supposed to meet Eva after the show, and she was going to take me to the cast party. Now, the cast party is a totally different story. It involved the weirdest night of my life, running into the cast of Barfly, which is a great movie with Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway.
Yes, I do, right.
It's a wonderful film, and some of the cast turned out to be at this cast party for Karamina Burana in Stockholm, but that's not what I'm here to tell you about today. I'm here
But can I just say something? I just want to say, regardless of whether this is true or not, the backstory is really gripping.
No, he's told this backstory like he's like been dying to tell this story, Scott. This story is about
but it's a good.
crabs. Like he's been and the time that I met all of these people in Stockholm, these skinheads and Barfly, like this was like literally like these are like central elements that have appeared.
But can I say something? But the fact that he had to wait all this time to then put it all these jewels
I
together.
haven't even gotten to the story yet.
I know. I just wanted to compliment you on what is just been a very enjoyable backstory to listen to.
I'm here to troll you.
That's fine. You troll me and convince everybody that I'm telling the truth here, because I've referred to some of these things before when in fact this whole story is bullshit. But
that's sociopathic, Ben, to carry around a lie like that and drop it randomly.
Yeah.
So the point is, the story doesn't start until around 11 o'clock because we have to get past the closing night of Karamina Burana. And Eva told me to meet her. They had to, the cast had to strip down the set and stuff, and put away all the clown costumes, and she was going to meet me on this corner above the metro. And just to be clear, I don't remember what metro station it was in Stockholm. It's not important.
You've said that like 3 times.
I know,
you don't remember metro station.
Someone's going to ask me, like they're going to come up and they're going to be like, but dude, what metro station was it? I don't remember. So I come up there, and I'm standing there, and it's broad daylight. Um, and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And Ava doesn't show up. And so I'm standing there on the corner waiting for her. And there is an old drunk guy who is about halfway down a block in front of a bar, a kind of wino kind of guy. And these two skinheads come down the street. They're coming from the other side, not from my side. So they're about half a block away, and they just jump the guy. And one of them, like, hits him really hard in the torso. And he doubles over, and they just, like, one of them comes down on his back like that. And, like, I was pretty far away. And there is, like, I kind of motioned, ran toward them to see if I could kind of break it up. There's a crowd of young, sort of drunk Swedish guys standing right there who just do nothing at all. And I, get there, and this old man who is, very drunk and completely incoherent, he probably even in Swedish, which I don't speak, is kind of babbling. And I yell at one of them, go inside, call an ambulance. And so they call an ambulance, and an ambulance comes, and there's nothing like I can do at this point, because, like, I don't speak Swedish, and, there are
But the skinheads have run away?
The skinheads have beaten this guy to the ground and run away.
Okay.
And so an ambulance comes and takes the guy away, and I go back to standing on my corner waiting for Eva Carlson to take me to the cast party of a production of Karamina Burana that is closing that night. And I'm standing there when who should wander by from the other side, like the other side of the block, but the two skinheads. And let's pause a minute and talk about 1990s era skinheads, right? There were two kinds of 1990s era skinheads, right? The kind that were just gross muscle, and this kind that, like, wore nice clothes with red suspenders and were kind of reasonably well dressed with a skinhead. And there was one of each here. Only one of them, so notable thing, only one of them spoke English. Now, you have to be really uneducated in Sweden not to speak English. Like, speaking English is like...
I think that's very xenophobic of you, Ben, for saying
okay,
that.
I'm just saying, you can decide whether I'm telling the truth or not.
I think that was... We have enough anti-other things going on. That was uncalled for.
Okay, I think it's a HIPAA violation. So, like, one of these guys...
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's a fucking HIPAA violation saying the guy that could either speak or not speak English.
That's right.
They speak HIPAA in Sweden.
They do speak HIPAA. It's kind of odd. So, one of them is reasonably well dressed. He doesn't have a jacket, but he has a white button-down shirt and red suspenders, and a coat. And the other one is, got like a white, he's sort of dressed like Scott. He's got a white t-shirt and a coat on, but just like, he's just muscle, and he's just there to grunt and look menacing. And he's got his arms folded. And the first one comes up and addresses me in Swedish, and I, I'm very aware that these are the two guys who just beat up this old man. And he says to me, when he realizes I don't speak Swedish, I don't know, like, who he thought I was, whether he thought I was, like, Italian or, but, like, I'm clearly not Swedish, right? And I'm completely the wrong height to be male in that country. And, um, and he asks me, what are you doing here? And I have no idea, like what he's asking. Do you mean, what am I doing standing on the corner? Because then I'd have to explain to him that I was waiting for Eva Carlson and the cast of Barfly.
I know, yeah.
And you were training your way through Europe, and you slept in the baggage claim.
But was he asking me what's a swarthy guy like you doing in Sweden? Right, which is a bit of a different question, right? And so I did what any red-blooded American who didn't want to ask the question would do under those circumstances, which is pretend I didn't understand his English, which was not great. Well, like, one of them spoke basically no English, and the other one... Oh, and the other thing is I was wearing bicycling clothes because it was kind of the only thing I had, the only clothes I had, because I was bicycling around first Australia and New Zealand and then Northern Europe. So I'm standing there in bicycling clothes looking swarthy and maybe Italian or Greek or Jewish or something. And he says to me, you'd better do what I say because I have a 9mm Beretta and I'm going to blow your fucking head off. And this was a surprising moment in my life because Stockholm is famously like the safest city in the world, or was at the time thought of as such. And I am being threatened by a skinhead with backup, and who is claiming to have a 9mm Beretta, and he's going to shoot me. But I have no idea what he wants.
Are we going to have to make some stupid, like, I hope that, like, that like, this story is not, I'm calling this right here. There are not a lot of guns in Sweden, and they regulate guns intensely. And so I'm calling bullshit on this part of the story straight up, and that if this is, like, central to the story, and you're going to say that this whole story is a lie because of the gun, that is, like, I'm going to be...
Okay, so let's be clear. He did not produce the gun.
Can I just say something? So both Ben and I have martial arts experience, and we both know, like, we trained with weapons. And Ben, if you say something that doesn't jibe, I'm going to call you on it.
Okay, I'm excited about that. Okay. So the first thing, Kate's point is
By the way, Kate is, that is the most resting skeptic face I have ever seen.
So Kate hits on a really good point, which is, and this is advice for all the kids out there. If you are going to claim to have a gun in a physical confrontation, make sure the person sees it. Because the skinheads claim to have a gun, but unwillingness to show it actually is pivotal to this story. And so I look at this situation, and the first thing I want to say about this is one of those high-stakes situations in your life that you process and reprocess for the rest of your life. How did you handle it? What did you do right? What did you do wrong? How much of what was talking in your body was adrenaline?
Or it never happened and you fabricated it and
or,
still,
you made the shit up and you've been fantasizing about it for 40 years. Or that's right. All right, so I'm looking at this situation and I'm like, okay, these guys are a little bit intoxicated. They've just beaten the shit out of an old man. So they're not faking the instinct to violence. There's two of them, there's one of me. I am trained well. I think neither of them is trained, but I don't know that for sure. And one of them claims to have a gun but has not produced it. So you have a very small window of time and there's nobody else around on the street. The nearest people may be just around the corner, half a block down in front of that bar, but you're not, you can't count on anybody for anything. So, and one other thing, I have no idea what they want from me, right? Do they want my money? Do they want to just beat the shit out of me like they did this old guy? Is there they are skinheads, but they're not, they're not like spouting Nazi shit. Like, they don't know I'm Jewish. But they might think I'm, a swarthy Italian who doesn't belong in Sweden. So, like, I have no idea what their game is, nor do I know if they're smart enough to have a game. And I've got no time to make a decision. And they may have a 9mm Beretta, though they have not produced it. Now, I have thought about this encounter for, it's been 30 years since it happened. And I think Kate hit upon what is actually the dispositive matter in my judgment, which was that I never saw the gun. And I didn't actually believe he had a gun. I thought he was full of shit. I wasn't sure. I don't know that I would make the same calculation today at 52 51, whatever the fuck I am, that I did when I was 21. But here's the judgment that I made. All right, so when you are fighting two opponents, there's two good rules that I think all martial arts training will teach you. When you have two opponents, it's critical that you keep your one between yourself and the other. The second attacker cannot attack you through the first attacker. So if you can create a line, a 3-point line in which you are here, attacker number 1 is here, and attacker number 2 is here, you are safe from attacker number 2. Number 2, if there is a possibility of a gun, you have got to neutralize that possibility first. Because even if he's in back, if he has time to whip out a gun, a 9mm Beretta, not that I would know a 9mm Beretta if it fell out of the sky and landed on in my lap.
Right, because we only understand calibers in imperial measures.
That's right, and I don't know that. So
right.
And I was in Sweden,
American.
Where there was, we were in Metric.
Great point. Great point.
So the split second calculation here is I have got to put the well-dressed guy who may or may not have a gun between me and the gorilla and neutralize him before he gets out the gun. And then I may have a few seconds to think about the gorilla, the Swedish gorilla. So there are only two good options for this in my training. One is a sudden side kick to the abdomen, with the hope that...
Like abdomen or kidney? Like abdomen or like...
It's not that precise. It's somewhere between here and here. You're going to land it.
The stomach.
He's going to go down. And if you're really lucky, he trips the other guy. He falls down into the other guy. But that's too much to ask for. You're hoping to take him down so that he's between you and the other guy.
Right, because if the guy crumples, the third guy still can't get over him, or it's much harder.
He's got to get over him to get to you.
Yeah.
Then, maybe I can run faster than he does, although I'm still worried about the gun, right? So, but you're thinking about step one first. So the second thing, and one of the key reasons that I wanted Scott here to hear this, is because I wanted he's got some some jiu-jitsu training, so he will know.
No, it's not jiu-jitsu. Is jiu-jitsu? Is it taekwondo? Oh no, you're taekwondo. Sorry.
I was in jiu-jitsu and Wing Chun.
So the second possibility is that you hit him, he doesn't go down, but his arm flails, right? And the idea is then you can grab the arm, put it in one or another of several joint locks, and keep him in that joint lock between you and the other guy. So that is about as far as I had it thought through in the third of a second that I had to think about this. And as I say, I go through this in my mind, I would say once a week. I spend 3 to 5 minutes kind of ruminating on this while I do whether I made the right choice. So...
Wait, you haven't said what the choice you made yet, right?
Well, the choice was comply, run, or this.
Right, I know, but you haven't...
And I chose this. This is...
okay. I didn't know that.
This is move to the right to situate well-dressed guy between me and gorilla. And all of a sudden, pivot hard, sidekick to the abdomen, which was kind of on the side, not the front, but kind of on the side because I had moved, and try to drive him through the other guy. So this succeeded partially and failed partially. Gorilla was a little bit faster than I anticipated and skipped out of the way, but this guy goes down hard and is in serious pain. And the gorilla, it was a completely fucking unexpected, looks at him writhing on the ground and runs away. Runs actually down into the metro station. And so I never actually had to fight the gorilla. He kind of grunted at me earlier. He never spoke a word, but he clearly didn't speak English. And this other guy is lying there, and the drunk Swedish guys from in front of the bar come down the street and look at him lying on the ground and say, "Holy shit, this is to me in English, one of them, holy shit, that's the guy who beat up the old man." And one of them calls the cops and goes into the bar and calls the cops. And some of the others held him down and just held him there until the cops came. And they took him away. And that was the last I ever heard of him. I was never called as a witness. I was never, as far as I know, there was no charge for trying to menace an innocent Italian tourist. Eventually, half, 3/4 of an hour late, Ava Carlson showed up and took me to the cast party where I met the cast of Barfly.
I still have no idea what that is. You keep mentioning that.
That is the end of the story. There's only one.
Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Member of the cast of Barfly. It's not relevant to the story.
But I would just say, this may be an age thing, but because barfly is definitely like a cultural marker for me. Like that, I get that. That's like
Yeah.
that was like a cool kind of almost indie film.
Okay, but what about, like, I mentioned, I literally am the only one of you three who apparently has watched Cheers, and I was like,
No. I
six
not
when
only did
that
I
show
watch
came out.
not only did I watch Cheers, but when I went to Oxford in the early 1990s, I videotaped every single Cheers on cassette tape to take with me.
Oh, that's actually really cute. Really?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's cute until you find out that
They weigh 70 pounds to put.
no. It turns out that actually the videotapes, the video recorders that they use are not compatible because of the different cycles. So I actually brought about 40 VHS tapes of Cheers, Taxi, and The Odd Couple, and various other things. And it turns out that it was all useless. And that's where I met my wife, and she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, thank God that they didn't work. Otherwise, you'd be in your room watching. Like,
exactly. But anyway, why did you say Cheers?
Oh no, because Ben was talking about barfly, like I should know, and I always feel really bad that I have to explain to Ben what Cheers is because I feel like I shouldn't. Okay, good. You brought in Daniel. Excellent. We'll start our questions.
But can't we ask questions first?
Yeah, but we can just fold them in with. We don't have bylaws here, Scott. No,
Okay,
bring Daniel back.
I never.
Yeah.
No. I just want to reserve my time. Bring Daniel back, but I just reserve my time.
All right. I don't control the order of operations here.
I cede my time to the right honorable gentleman, Daniel.
I'm asking the first question, and my question is this. What subway station were you at?
I totally knew that was coming.
Yeah,
I don't remember what metro station it was.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. I have a quick. Can I ask a quick question? But no. I don't want to step. If you had a follow up, Kate.
No.
Really, what subway station was?
Okay. No. So here, I actually have. When did you start studying martial arts? Because I would think that, like, to have the confidence to sidekick like a random. I'm sorry, this is in Copenhagen, Sweden. Random Swede. Stockholm. That this. You would have had to have been training at least 3 years or something like that.
Yeah,
so
I trained all through high school, and I was and I had done a little bit of Aikido in college, and so my fundamental instinct was as a Taekwondo practitioner, where can you land a kick? But I was also thinking about, like, what could I do if I could grab an arm?
Gotcha.
You know, the hope, and I think I still feel like I've trained sort of all the way through my 40s. But I think my instinct basically is still land a kick, grab an arm, switch from striking to grappling, but get that first stunning blow in. With your, like, I think I'm not different from what I was at 21 in that regard.
I see. My thing is always grab the arm, then land the kick.
If you can. Like, he didn't have his arm up there.
Oh, okay.
He was like, well, the gorilla was like standing like this and like, grunting at me in this kind of, and the other guy was just like, I mean, his arms were down. They weren't like, he wasn't like up and well protected, but he wasn't
like this
holding one out for him.
Right, yeah. That sometimes happens in real life. The right honorable gentleman, Daniel.
Alexi. Fiona calls him looks like Alexi Navalny,
as he's now known.
So he did. I see the resemblance.
Yeah, Fiona thought it was Alexei Navalny.
Did she really think?
She
Like
had
for
a
a second.
moment. There was a
Yeah.
second where she thought we had Alexei Navalny on to ask her a question.
Crowdcasting in from prison.
Putin's not as mean as they say he is. Daniel.
So after you struck the guy, did you have kind of, oh shit, he might still have a gun, I better run moment?
So there was no prospect of running immediately because the gorilla was right there, right? And would have to turn to run. He just has to go forward. And he, to my, in retrospect, annoyance, skipped back weirdly ably in response to the other guy falling at his feet. Usually that causes you a moment of discombobulation. And I think my mental and emotional prejudice against him, because he was sort of such a caricature of a, sort of Germanic ape, was such that I was kind of expecting him to not be nimble in response to it, but he just skipped over it, and so it would have been a situation where I would be turning or running backwards and he was running forwards, and so I didn't try to run away. And then he looks at the guy, and the guy's so I'm less worried about the gun all of a sudden because the guy's writhing in pain on the ground, but then there's noise from these guys in front of the bar, and I all of a sudden the gorilla just looks at him and just takes off. And so it was I think I would have had to confront the question that you're asking if another quarter of a second had gone by. But all of this that I'm describing is I'm slowing it down in way slow motion, to a reasonable pace of thought. But actually it was I don't know how long it takes somebody to fall down, but he's on the ground and the other guy looks at him and takes
Wait,
off
I'll tell
all of
you.
a sudden.
Just kidding.
That's all I can give you on that.
I would just say, by the way, that we are at 27 votes yes that Ben is lying, 28 votes no. So it's really as here voter fraud is going to make a big difference, because we really are at the razor's edge. I mean, this is perfectly balanced. Richard.
I don't understand. There can't be that many people who think that this is a lie. He's told parts of this story 10 times. Anyways, Richard, what's your question?
Okay. Well, all right. So how many, I get 3 questions, or how many questions are, I get 3
Everybody
questions?
gets 3 questions.
Okay. So what was the lighting like where this occurred?
Oh, what a great question. So
I thought you were going to ask about the
Metro
show,
stuff.
and I was like, yeah, no, not the Metro stuff. I thought you were going to ask about the lighting of the show, and I was like, no.
Okay, so in the high summer in Scandinavia, and to our Finnish friends, I know Finland isn't technically Scandinavia, but it's on a similar parallel. It doesn't, it does actually get dark in the southern part of Sweden, but not until about 11 o'clock at night, or midnight. It gets at 10 o'clock, it is still, sort
But
of
you said this,
bright.
that it was 2 hours of dark, at the time. So it was
But
kind of
the
feels
whole-
weird dusk for
the whole
hours
evening
and hours.
is this kind of weird dusk. And so think of it as it's 7 or 8 o'clock in Washington now for hours and hours and hours. And then it gets a bit darker. And then just when you expect the sun to really go down, it comes up again. And so I think of it as it was kind of dusk, but the sun is still out. But it was, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Okay, Danielle, what's your question? We have to kind of start moving because it's 5:45 already.
Had you consumed any alcohol prior to this?
I believe
Maybe.
not.
Ooh.
It was not a. I was not a big drinker then, and I certainly wouldn't have been drinking alone. It certainly didn't figure into the story. I actually don't remember the day before this. I was meandering about Stockholm, but Ava had told me to meet her there to go to the cast party, and that's the only part of the day I have memory of.
Scott?
I I find it strange that somebody is a guy is kicked in the stomach and then falls down on the ground that you would call an ambulance. Like
No,
that's
no,
not
no,
like
no,
an
no. That's not what happened. The old man.
okay, yeah.
So the old man is beaten up, like he's punched in the stomach. It was a fist blow, and then
And then
hit from the back, but
right,
with
but that
fists. As far as I know, they did not call the police. They called an ambulance for the old man, and but all of
presume
that happened in Swedish, and I don't
I see.
like. I was like, okay, the old guy. I didn't expect them to come back, and so I don't think I paid much attention to how the situation with the old man was being handled, save that I wanted to make sure he was okay. And so I had run over there, but then once I saw it was sort of under control and they were like taking care of him, and an ambulance came and took him away, and I'm not sure I thought about it all that much. I was kind of waiting for Eva, um, and so they then came and took, like, an ambulance came and took him away. I don't think cops ever showed up about that. Cops definitely showed up about the guy later, but
Mm,
once I floored him, but they didn't take a statement from me. They didn't, you know, like, he was hurt. Like, I probably broke a couple of his ribs, um, but I think they arrested him, but like it was mostly between him and between, like, that interaction was mostly between the cops and the Swedish guys from the bar.
Richard?
Okay. So your detail about your account of those split-second calculations you were making was very credible, but or I guess under some conditions, and I was wondering if keeping a cool head in situations like this was part of your martial arts training, or was something happening like your subconscious took over and did what it needed to do, knowing what you're supposed to do with your body in these situations as a result of your training.
It's a really interesting question, and I think about it a lot, and I don't know the answer. You always want to say that it's your martial arts training, that, like, um, that it's this thing that happened, that you your training took over and you just did what. But the truth is, I had never specifically trained for the situation in which there was a gun posited but not produced. I actually hadn't at that time done much training for what you do if there's a gun at all. Um, and the truth of the matter is, I don't know what caused me to respond the way I did, nor do I know honestly that it was a cool head thing. They hadn't like, he had specifically threatened to blow my head off with a gun that he didn't produce. It wasn't clear, like, sometimes I think it wasn't clear that I needed to do anything other than stand there and not
Engage.
be antagonized or engaged. And so I honestly don't know whether it was training or foolishness or uh, uh, um, cool head or hot head. Honestly, I know that in the 30 years since, I have not had a physical altercation with anybody.
Okay, I'll ask a question. Are you enjoying my reactions tonight to this story?
Very much. But I enjoy almost all things about you, Kate, and so like
Aw.
actually that's not really that probative of
Right.
anything.
No, I mean, I think that like if I was deeply skeptical, you would, and you were lying, you would enjoy it more.
I just want to point out
Or
that
you were telling
30
the truth, and you would enjoy it more. But if I was like deeply believing of your truth, or like deeply like this is all true, and then you turned out to whatever it is, I think you would enjoy the opposite of more than you would like. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so I just want to point out that wow, a majority now think that I'm lying, 50.8%. So
Yeah,
It's not
but
like
I mean,
wow. That's like still
it's
50.8%, Ben. Like it's like at 0.8%. Like it's not
yeah,
even
yeah.
standard deviation.
It's
Like
30. It's 31 to 30. I mean, that
yeah,
put it that way.
it's like
It's
yeah. The R
it's
value is not significant, or the P value is
right.
not significant. So like,
Yeah. Let's not p hack this. It's a pretty evenly divided. Almost, you might say, random choice.
yeah.
But I know the right answer.
So Dave, we're running out of time. Daniel, Richard, ask your two last questions, and Ben will answer them simultaneously, and then tell us what your vote is.
So I only have one more question, which is, did the thought that the second guy might also have a gun go through your head?
I never considered it. In retrospect, I should have. He was I I think my prejudice against him because of the way he looked like was extreme enough that it actually affected my judgment of how to deal with him.
Okay, Richard.
There we go. So Ben, when you were in your late teens, early 20s, were you any sort of daredevil? Did you do a lot of stupid things that you look back and you think, no way I would have done, I should have done that. No way would I do that now.
So I did some, not a whole lot, but one of them was only a few months before that incident in Sweden. I was in New Zealand with a group of, and I ran into a pair of Israelis who had just gotten out of the army, and we went for a climb on Mount Cook that none of us was remotely qualified to try, and we came very, very close to dying. And so I would say generally not, but that specific period of my life, I tried, I did a number of things. And the New Zealand thing was probably sort of accidental. I don't think any of us knew we were doing something that was like super dangerous and that we shouldn't be doing. But I do look back on that period as like a period where I did like more crazy, dangerous shit than I've ever done in the rest of my life.
Okay, Daniel and Richard, before you go, tell us what your votes are. Daniel?
You have to unmute.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Right. So I am flummoxed, but if I had to guess, I would guess this is a lie, only because the decision to strike someone that possibly has a gun with no physical provocation but a verbal provocation is hard for me to believe.
So I think Ben is telling the truth because it just seems like psychologically, is that age that he wasn't measuring risk the same way as he would later in life, and so that would have also affected his judgment at that time. He wouldn't have seen it as maybe perhaps as risky as maybe later in life.
Okay. We have 4 minutes left and we have to wrap this up. So I'm going to quickly ask my last question, which is for one last time, Ben, for the love of God and all that is holy. Tell us what fucking metro station
Yeah.
you were at.
I don't remember the metro station.
Okay, fine. Scott?
I don't need to ask a question. I'm ready to vote.
Okay, I think you're telling the truth, and this is a true story. And if it is not a true story, the only part that is not a true story, I stand by my assessment, is the involvement of the gun and the events thereafter. I think that maybe all of this happened and there is some type of... No, I think that like all of this happened. He encountered skinheads. He watched them beat up an old man. He maybe had like words with them. And then the rest of that, like everything after that, like the threat of a gun, the beating up, like the running away, like all of that is made up. If the,
But-
like
but that
that's
is-
my life.
but
Mostly I
that-
think it's the truth. Like I think it's true, but if it's not, I'm calling where the lie is.
No, wait a second. But I thought that the game is that, like, what is the essence of the story? And the essence of the story is clearly the gun and the sidekick. And so if you're saying that that's a lie, then that's a lie. I thought we weren't...
This
I
story
thought-
No, I'm
is
not saying it's a lie.
Wait, this story is
saying
a
I
lie
think
if I did not have a physical encounter with
Yes,
skinheads in
that's-
Stockholm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The fact that the backstory is true is neither here nor there for the game. Is my understanding.
The question on the table
No, okay,
is,
then I think it's true. I think it's true.
I
think it's
did
true.
I
think it's true.
sidekick a
I
skinhead
got
and
it.
the other
I
one
think-
ran away into the metro?
I think it's true. Go ahead.
Okay.
Scott.
I think it's false because I first had so I had exactly the thought that Daniel and then Richard had. Was the first thing I thought was, there's no way you would attack somebody who said that they had a gun. And then I thought, oh, you're 21 years old and like, like all you want to do is sidekick things. But then, but then I thought, they teach you, no matter, any responsible place tells you don't get into a fight with somebody with a gun. Like the thing you say is just hand over your money, give them your valuables, just listen to what they say. The fact that that Ben hasn't even told us what the demand was makes
There was
me
no demand.
No, I know.
We did
So
this
that's
one, yeah.
why. So that's why the natural thing would have been like, I don't want any problems. You want? Here's my money. Here's my watch. That's what you're kind of trained to do. To like completely diffuse it by showing your neck. Guns. You don't mess around with guns. So I say you didn't do it, and you have thought for the last 30 years. Did you not have the cojones to do it?
I love how you just have to put that word into Spanish and suddenly it's like...
Yeah, right, exactly. You can say whatever you want if it's not in English, because it's not really a language. Yeah.
All right. The
Okay.
audience votes for me. Pretty split, but I got 34 votes to 31 votes. So I got
Pretty
one of
split.
the...
It's pretty split.
Pretty
Ben.
split.
Okay, so just tell us.
The guests, the guest questioners are split. The hosts are split. Boy, Kate's fallback is awfully close to right. Everything about that story is true until the moment after he said there was a gun. He did say there was a gun. And
Well, then Scott's really true. We split on
yeah,
the exact same thing.
no,
Like,
but hang on. There was no sidekick. I
No,
was
that's
not...
what Ben's,
The
that's
whole
what Scott's
bit...
saying.
The whole bit about my being trained in martial arts at the time was bullshit. I didn't
Oh.
start training until my 30s. And
I also knew that.
what
I knew that you
actually
picked it up later.
happened was that at the moment they were demanding money, actually, and I was sort of prepared to give them money, and one of them said, "I have a 9mm Beretta, and I'll blow your head off, blow your fucking head off." And at that moment, the guys from the bar turned the corner, and I shouted to them, "These guys are trying to mug me," and they both ran off. And
Oh.
one of the guys from the bar said, "Those are the guys who attacked the old man." And I was like, "Yeah, fucking, what did you do about it then?" Yeah. So
Okay.
so it's the gravamen of the story is total bullshit, with some background to fool people like Kate, by including stuff that they knew was true.
The thing is, I think this is one of those things where, like, I just know, like, if somebody has a gun, you
I
just
mean, like
don't
that
mess with
also.
that.
Yeah.
There was
By
like
the
I
way,
kept like
for those of you who are trained in martial arts, if somebody says they have a gun, do what they fucking want.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like don't get shot.
Right. Don't get shot. Yeah.
I don't know. I like I mean we have to wrap, but like I was gonna say, like, I have a very, very visceral fear of guns that, like, despite having spent a fair amount of time around them and learning how to correctly fire them and to work, I like dislike them greatly. Like, I just don't like being around them. They strike me like they're just
I agree with you. I think that I'm not going to get appointed to the Supreme Court because I said this, but I think that
because you had a really hot chance otherwise.
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, Ben, I figured out that you were lying. So I mean, I think that goes to my judicial temperament. But I do think that like guns disgust me. I mean, I find them disgusting instruments, and I don't like being around them, though I have been trained in them as well. So
I don't know how to like better describe it. Yeah. But speaking of absolutely nothing, except that like thinking about like being threatened with a gun would be like, and seeing it, to actually be clear, like, not just here. I would have, the other thing is, like, if anyone threatened me a gun in New Zealand or outside of the United States, basically, or outside of kind of like, I don't know, like a kind of a developing world, or, you know, like area where there was like a pretty rampant black market trade, I would never believe there to be a gun, because like Europe and, I mean, there's just like a lot of other places have very well policed kind of citizen gun laws. So anyway, good story, Ben. I'm kind of like proud of myself and Scott. I think we kind of came down in the same place with like this. I mean, it was the key to this story, but I just kind of was like, there was so much about that story, Ben, that you had like specifically mentioned in great detail.
Well,
that
I included all that stuff in order to set you on the wrong track.
I mean, well.
Yeah, but I would say, Ben, that it was a bit scary how well you lied that. I mean, you really, you were, I kept on thinking to myself, he's being very persuasive, but this doesn't scan. But you were really good at it.
I also didn't trust that you felt like it was necessary to have like, I should have tuned into the fact that you thought it was necessary with some of the martial arts training beyond the show, because like, and
I definitely wanted to use a lot of martial arts detail.
Yeah, it was like you're trying to prove too much. Like, yeah. I feel like that was, yeah. So
yeah, I would think
John Hawkinson. The answer to this question is not at all, because we literally didn't know we were doing this until 4:40.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I will.
So I pulled a true story out and added a bunch of martial arts stuff to it. And that's the honest truth of how that story came to be.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to leave it there.
Scott was going to say something. What was Scott going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I thought that like, I thought I was just confirming and verifying that you definitely made it up on the spur of the moment, because, yeah, this all came up like that.
Congratulations, Ben. I'll never trust you again.
Thank you. But I do want to point out that both of you now owe the In Lieu of Fun audience a Where's the Lie.
Okay.
I'd like to hear Scott's. I don't really want to do it.
Okay.
I think
my big problem is that, like, I feel like I'm so anal explosive on Twitter, like that. Like, I just.
That's weird. two words to put together. That like,
Well, you know,
anal explosive is
well, just like everything just comes out. You know, I mean, as opposed to retentive, right? Of course, but you're right. You're right. This is gonna further sink my confirmation to SCOTUS.
Scott, I think when President Insanity Case nominates you to the Supreme Court, your nomination is gonna be like the best show ever.
President Insanity. Okay.
What would the character of such a president have to be? He'd be like, I want somebody who's super well qualified, but hates himself inordinately.
But I would say no. I would say no to it. I would not be on the court. There's no way I would be on the court. Being
hard same. Yeah. I didn't even want to. I would never have even wanted to clerk for the court, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, of course not. I mean, who would want? I mean, but again, I'm like digging a bigger hole for myself. Could we edit this out because I may change?
Yeah, we're gonna edit. We're gonna take
or just
all this
cut
out.
it at 6.
We're also gonna take out the part where I lie because that won't be good for my confirmation prospects. When all right, we're gonna leave it there. We will be back tomorrow with Jack Balkin, who was supposed to be here today, except that we scheduled this too far in advance, like a minute earlier. That'll be 22 hours and 53 minutes from now. And until then, Scott?
We can't have fun anymore, but we can have psychopathic hosts.
Sociopaths. Like, let's not go too far.
I'm sorry.
I know. I still love Ben, and this is like, I'm already
sociopath.